Hello, Astro friends. Melanie here with the weather for the week starting tomorrow, the 16th of May 2023, and going till next Monday, the 22nd. So, tomorrow is really a new start in so many ways. Plus, this week we'll have quite a few new beginnings. So, what's up with tomorrow? Which is one of the big news of the week and definitely also of the month. Jupiter will enter Taurus. Jupiter has not in Taurus since 2011, 2012, June 2011 to June 2012. Yes, Jupiter has a 12-year cycle, so that's 12 years ago, 2011, and it's typically 1 year and 2 weeks or so in one sign. Jupiter will be in Taurus until the 26th of May 2024. What's up with Taurus? So much Taurus already going on currently, and now also enhanced, amplified, blown up, and expanded by Jupiter. Remember, Jupiter is the planet, the gaseous, the gassy big one that is like a big air balloon, enhancing everything that it touches for better or worse. So bigger and more is not always better, but it helps us to understand what's going on. It's like a magnifying glass, right? So the more there is, the more you have to look at it, the more you want to see what's going on, and maybe if it's not a good thing, you need to outgrow it. So growth in many regards is a theme for Jupiter. What's with the chart for Jupiter's entry into Taurus? That will be tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. I set up the chart for this entry point. Here it is, right? So as you see, there's a lot of Taurus going on, starting with Jupiter at the 0 point, then the North Node, then Mercury, just briefly out of retrograde since yesterday evening, also early Taurus, then Uranus, and then the Sun. Lots of stuff going on. Yes, also there is Aries with Moon and Chiron, but what we're looking at here is Taurus. And what you also see is this so-called T-square, which is a tension, red, right? There's lots of pressure, there's lots of tension that actually needs an outlet here with this early Taurus energy represented by Jupiter, North Node, and Mercury retrograde. It's the tension between Mars, also on the cusp from Cancer to Leo, which I get to in a second, what's going on with Mars this week. And on the other side of the equation, Pluto, at the very, also at the cusp, at the very beginning of Aquarius, but going retrograde, and it will re-enter Capricorn on June 11th. So these two are in opposition, Mars, Pluto, which is quite something, and then Jupiter in Taurus. What's that tension? What's with that needed outlet? I should also say Jupiter in Taurus will be catalyzed in a way through the late Taurus, very end of Taurus new moon, which we'll have this week on the 19th, just 3 days after. Here's a quick look at the Taurus new moon, where you see that same T-square again, but now with Sun and Moon in end of Taurus here, and this is what I call the voice point. Let's get to that later. Then Jupiter in early Taurus, North Node, and Mercury again, and Uranus. So that will be the super Taurian event of the year, this end of Taurus new moon. So lots of Taurus energy right now, and again the T-square. And this one will be also coming more into exactitude as Mars goes into Leo on the 20th, the day after the new moon, and immediately goes into opposition with Pluto and into square with Jupiter. on the 22nd. So lots going on in that regard. Again, not a boring week, even if you think Taurus can be kind of very comfortable and even, yeah, too stuck in habits or even boring, which is the shadow of Taurus, but it gets kicked into gears through this dynamic. And Taurus has to do with ownership. Taurus, this is where Jupiter crosses the point from the cusp point from Aries to Taurus, which I call the settling point. So that's where all the lots of activity, lots of outward action, and the notion to find a place like end of Aries, where Jupiter has been lately, has a Sagittarius energy. So it's lots of comings and goings, right? And then to arrive has to do with Taurus. Taurus also, early Taurus is also about manifestation, where spirit comes into matter, where something is materialized. And so what is materialized here that has been already, the beginnings have already been kicked into motion since Jupiter has been in Aries, which was happening fully since last end of December 2022. So lots of new beginnings, also via Pluto going into Aquarius, right? So that's a signature since the spring equinox, pretty much signature of a whole new era that is now being kicked off, and Jupiter will show more physical material evidence of that. Of course, it has to do with the even more digitalization of everything. Could be also relating to the economy, to money, which is ruled by Pluto, which is ruled by Taurus. And there's a tension here, there's a pressure here. So what's with security, says Taurus? What's with ownership, says also Taurus? If things are actually manifesting, who owns your digital identity, for example, right? Who owns your digital data? And how is that being protected? And so Pluto is now backtracking, so that's a good thing. Even back into Capricorn, which is more the builder. Capricorn, Pluto goes back into Capricorn on June 11th, and then we'll be at the second last phase of Capricorn until January 20th next year. So that lots of building going on, building the new, building for the new structures and systems. Capricorn Aquarius, it's the juncture between the also between the old world, the history and the past, and the future, which is Aquarius. So there's lots of powerful forces happening that naturally push the evolution, the transformation, and at the same time also lots of interested powers involved, and the shadow of that is also clearly there, right? So lots of control issues here, right? So Taurus, actually, in contrast to Aquarius, we're dealing a lot with that juncture here, with that pressure here, right? Taurus has to do with preserving and with being rather conservative, versus Aquarius is rather ruled by Uranus, which is also rather experimental, technological, future-oriented, progressive. So we have a lot of tension between these two in us, and of course also societally and collectively, that are now showing up, and then we're feeling. So this Jupiter into Taurus, I want to talk a little bit about that because it will be on for a bit more than a year. And it has to do, on a very neutral or positive note, with gratitude and appreciation for the earth, for nature, for everything organic and biological, for plants, for everything green and growing, for everything natural, versus Aquarius again is rather engineered. So there's this dynamic between the two. And Taurus says, see the gifts and appreciate the gifts of Mother Earth when you really tune into her beauty and all the abundance that is there. So no need for scarcity. Nature is not about scarcity. Nature is about abundance, and we can relax in that, and we can enjoy, right? So what is with joy and with also slowing down progress and all kinds of online and virtual realities, artificial and versus biological and organic and natural, right? So we're having this dynamic going on as well. And I'm just in the process of writing this article for Jupiter in Taurus, so stay tuned. Will be on my blog. Lots going on for astrologers this week to write about. Now we are also in this end of Taurus to early Gemini week of the year. The Sun will enter Gemini, so we'll come out of Taurus into Gemini just after the Taurus new moon. So here, sorry, the Taurus new moon on the 19th, and then on the 21st at 12:09 a.m., just after midnight Pacific, the Sun will enter Gemini. And that is again the shift from Earth, from the first Earth sign to the first air sign. Taurus has to do with the senses, with our sense perceptions, also with the voice, but more like the sound of it, and has to do with the effects of sound and other sense stimuli. And Gemini has to do with words. So I call this cusp, this juncture, this transition, the voice point. In other words, be a voice for nature is an expression of that. And voicing what's important, what's valuable for you. Value again, Taurus. So that's a theme this week, and as I expressed before, can relate to all these things regarding nature and or technology and the artificial worlds, right, and systems. So that's this week. The Sun crosses a voice point. It's also about, since the end of Taurus has a Virgo undertone and early Gemini has a Libra undertone. So it's also about enjoying the work that you are doing, the service that you provide, the help that you can give, and also making sure and communicating that it's fair and balanced, and and giving voice to your values, basically balancing interests is also that theme. Then we have the moon from waning before the new moon on the 19th. The moon is waning. It's currently in Aries, will then go into Taurus. When will the moon go into Taurus? On the 17th in the morning, 5:28 a.m. And then on the 19th is the new moon. Then the moon will go into Cancer on the 21st in the evening. And on the 22nd, our last day of this Astro week, will be still in Cancer. So we're having the waning phase. So in the waning phase, it's also an unraveling, right? It's a releasing of anything from the old lunar cycle, which literally started with spring equinox, right? So we had the Aries, the early Aries, new moon on the 21st of March. And now, oh, sorry, I'm like 2 months behind. I'm retro, right? So we had the solar eclipse. We had the solar eclipse on the 19th of April. That's where it's at. 19th of April, which was at the very end of Aries. That's where the last lunar phase started. And it ends with this new moon at the very end of Taurus. So anything from this phase of the last 4 weeks that is coming for you to a closure, that you can intentionally and emotionally also feeling, lots of things are releasing now and integrating, could have to do with all this Taurus energy of settling into spring, also tending to gardens and being in nature. So being in more like integration phase of that, and then taking it to the next level, taking it to the air element right after the new moon. So that's where we also come more into communication, and it's really a season of learning, ruled by Mercury. Also the integration of Mercury retrograde, which technically ended yesterday, the 14th in the evening, but of course it's still rolling out with its post-retro storm or stationary period where Mercury is super slow and is in this kind of U-turn, I call it, right? Shifting gears from backwards to forwards. And that takes a bit, the adjustment takes, and that is at this time until the 24th of April, 24th of May. I'm a little retro here still today. So we are in this mercurial shift as well. So maybe also sorting out, reviewing what the learning experiences have been in the last month, pretty much with Mercury retrograde, and what are new questions now that have to do, like literally with since Mercury will be still in Taurus for quite a while until the 11th of June. So maybe new questions around anything physical, material, tangible, values, nature, lots to learn here, right? And could have to do again with economy, with money, and all these things as well, with the body and its functions, its senses, and with what brings us joy. So how can we communicate that now? And what have we learned about the nature of the mind, where it takes us and it takes us astray, and coming back to our senses is actually pretty much a bottom line of this Mercury retro and post-retro in Taurus. And so what else is going on this week? Yes, I said tomorrow Jupiter goes into Taurus, big news. And on the 19th, the Taurus new moon, end of Taurus new moon. So that one, again, on the cusp to Gemini, has a lot to do with giving voice to what matters to us, what we value. And that's a great extension after the Mercury retro phase, and also supported by Jupiter then in Taurus. I will write about that too, so you can stay tuned on my blog, or also in the email Astro News, which comes out for every new moon and full moon. Just send me an email and I'll put you on the subscriber list if you like. Then another beginning, as I said at the beginning here, that there are quite a few beginnings this week. Jupiter into Taurus, new moon at the cusp of Taurus Gemini, and the third new beginning is Mars changes signs from Cancer, where Mars tends to be not super comfortable. And Mars has been in Cancer since like mid-March. Oh, when was that? I'm like losing track. But 2 months, the last 2 months roughly. And on May the 2nd, just after, it was actually just after spring equinox, right? On the 27th, I believe, of March. And it is now going into Leo on the 20th of May until July 10th. So this in itself is already quite a boost, quite a push for a roaring start into early summer. And we've already seen it here meteorologically, temperature-wise, on the west coast, and also, yeah, raging wildfires in Alberta, BC, in Alberta, Canada, and here in BC. We've had such a heat wave this last weekend, and the temperatures really are summery this week. So what's up with that? Is that exceptional? Is that a crazy trend? And Mars in Leo also speaks to that, right? So what's with the heat, right? Leo is really the hottest sign of the zodiac, central summer energy. And yeah, what are you passionate about? That can relate to many things, right? Can relate to, again, Taurus, what you value, issues around the earth, nature. And it can also be about your creativity, because Leo itself is a lot of creative self-expression and creativity in many respects. It's about showing yourself. It's also about playtime. It's about being more brave and honoring yourself, loving yourself. What would self-love, Leo, do to assert who you are? So you don't have to be aggressive or confrontational necessarily, but it's a warrior energy and it's in a fiery sign. So yeah, expect some stuff also regarding Mars freshly in Leo, then going into opposition, also end of this week, opposition with Pluto, early Aquarius and retrograde. So that's right afterwards on the same day on the 20th. That itself can bring out this tension between the individual and group consciousness or society, right? So there can be a lot of like, hey, I don't like this, what everybody else is doing and where society is going and stuff like that, right? So how can you find a creative, passionate outlet that doesn't have to be an angry thing, right? So it's again the call for a transformation of that energy into something more powerful, which is what Pluto also would suggest. And then Mars will go on Monday the 22nd into that square with Jupiter. And that again makes this T-square here really exact, right? Mars square Jupiter, as there's a lot of energy here building up. And so what are we, here you can't quite see it yet, that's Jupiter in Taurus. Here's a little bit closer with the Taurus new moon, where Mars is almost in Leo and making this T-square, right? And so making the square, I should say, right, with Jupiter, and Jupiter itself makes a square with Pluto. So there's a lot of tension here going on that requires a good, big, powerful outlet. So maybe you want to, literally from the Pluto's perspective, together with other people in some group consciousness, in some conscious group processes, I should say, do some shadow work and also be share your own perspectives with Jupiter and your values around this whole dynamic that's currently going on in the world. Where is humanity? Where is the future of the planet going? All these things, right? So we need to not just hold that all within and be a sort of repressing the energy in an unhealthy way, but finding good outlets. And yeah, but otherwise, yes, roaring summer is starting. Venus will join Mars on the 7th, I believe, of June. That's also coming up then soon. Let's verify what day is it exactly. So Venus in Leo A little breather here. June the 6th, June the 5th, June the 5th it is, right? So June the 5th, and for a very long time, because Venus will go retro all in Leo. And that retro phase will be from July 22nd till September the 3rd. And Venus will be all in Leo from June the 5th until October the 8th. That's super long, right? That's like 4 months in one sign. And I shared with a Leo friend this morning on Skype, that it's very supportive actually for re-accessing, cultivating healthy self-love, coming back to the inner goddess, and from that place, live joyfully, live lovingly. And you are the number one in a good way in your life, right? If you are happy and joyful, you radiate that out, and everybody will benefit. Right, so more to come about Venus in Leo and Venus retro in Leo. And as I said, Venus will come close to Mars, but Mars in this case will be, oh, I'm sorry, this is laughter. But Mars will be faster than Mars will be ahead of Venus, and Venus will slow down because she will go retrograde. So Venus will not pass Mars actually in Leo. But they will be in Leo plus Lilith in Leo. So there's a lot of Leo on the horizon. We're not quite there yet, but you'll definitely notice the shift as it comes after the new moon. And that's it for this week. Lots is up, and wish you an awesome week. Check in, leave your comments under the video. I totally appreciate more interaction lately, as the videos seem to get a bit more traction, and I'm doing it really. I'm committed to do them regularly. So thanks for your appreciation and for taking time to listen to this. And yeah, you're welcome to engage, and let's chat. Have an awesome week, and you can see me again next week, or maybe we see each other in the meantime in real life. Ciao.